We have no agenda actually, so we don't know what's going to happen here. So my prompt to Chris 5 minutes ago was let's make it as unhinged as possible. So that's the energy we're going for.
And that's when I started sweating because I'm not super unhinged. So if any of you are unhinged,
so if any of you have more unhinged things you want to do, just bring it up.
I'm going to start with like the basics and a little bit of history, and then
that doesn't sound very unhinged.
No. But then we'll build it up. We'll build it up. So, okay, first of all, Clay, describe what Clay does.
I have a new pitch.
Okay, go for it.
As of yesterday, I have a new pitch, so we can try this out. I'm always having new. I don't know how often you have new pitches for Granola, but this is a new pitch. Okay, so the new pitch is okay. Everyone in go-to-market is just trying to do something very simple, which is you have a TAM, and you have your existing customers, and you're just trying to find the delta. That's it.
Okay.
But there's only a couple ways you can find the delta between your existing customers and your TAM. You can convert inbound, of which Granola has a lot. You can go outbound, or you can take your existing customers and expand them. That's it. Okay. And so I'm trying to simplify this. And so then how do we help? What do we do now? Well, what we do is we help you build audiences. We help you get lots of third-party data. We aggregate 150 different vendors. We use AI to help improve that and find new data points. A fun data point that I've been sharing recently is Waste Management is one of our customers, and the trash company, and they don't actually even know who their customers are because they sell through subsidiaries. And so they use Clay to find satellite images through Google Maps and use AI to analyze those and look at photos of the trash cans outside of people's homes and look at what colors those trash cans are, because then they'll know what company they're using. So we help you get this great data. We help you bring your own data as well in, first-party data, and then you can do cool stuff on top. You can do personalized ads, you can do outbound that's automated, you can build personalized landing pages, whatever. Yeah. Then what we're going to start doing is we're going to help you, and so that's how you bring your growth ideas and bring them to reality. And then what we're going to start doing over time is like, how do you take AI to understand who your best customers are, find out more of them? How do you build an interface for reps so they can kind of experiment and do things? And ultimately, like go-to-market engineers will be like experimenting and implementing and executing these ideas, and then people will be experimenting on top.
Okay, so we have this thing called the pub test in the UK, and it's basically if some dude is drinking a beer at a pub and is like, hey, what's Clay?
Yes.
What's the one sentence answer? Like what's that?
We help you bring your growth ideas and bring them to reality. That's it.
Okay, help you bring your... What do you think the guy in the pub would say, though?
What would he say? Okay, well, I'd be like, okay, give me your growth idea, and let's bring it to reality. We could do it right now. So if someone has a growth idea, we could just bring it to, like, the guy in a pub.
Yeah.
Let's say he owns the pub, and
I don't think the guy in the pub test owns the pub.
Okay, fine.
But keep going.
Okay, well, he could do whatever. He could be a plumber and he wants customers. Though we're making a lot of assumptions about the plumber and about the guy in the pub, and you're making actually you're making serious socioeconomic assumptions about the guy in the pub, by the way, which I actually thought I was being fairly generous by saying he owns the pub. I was economic opportunity, so let's just so anyways. This is the capitalist in me versus the European kind of energy.
I had to pull it up and sit on it, so I think that's the move.
Okay, all right, we're going to do
Ursula, this. I'm hot, so I don't know if we can open another window. Thank you.
That's because the unhinged energy is getting
higher.
Yeah,
it's going to get, we haven't even started.
Higher. Okay, so that, by the way, this is actually the ultimate vision, one of the ultimate visions of Clay, which is like the guy in the pub, if he has ambitions to grow, maybe the business or even as a human, he should think of Clay. The same way you want to go somewhere, you think of Uber as the way to go do that, And so for the guy in the pub who owns a bar, he's like, I need to get customers. And how am I going to get customers? Well,
I go to Clay.
Yeah, and let's think about that. This is not a traditional use case, and I actually haven't considered this use case before, so I'm gonna riff with you for a moment here. So the guy in the pub. Well, pubs don't do outbound, and pubs mostly just do one of two things. They will either convert their inbound, and sometimes they have a capacity, right, because it's a constrained space, or they can take their existing customers and get them more drunk more often, right? That's really your only options. And so how can you use Clay to do that? Well, what you could do is when people come into the pub, we should try to figure out who they are, right? So what you could do, again, I'm thinking out loud here, is maybe there's a camera in the pub. This is now going to violate all sorts of...
there's also a thing called GDPR.
I know, I was just going to say, it's going to violate all sorts of GDPR things. But you could have the video recording. You could use Gemini on top of the video recording. You could kind of figure out who they are, and then you could be like, and then based on their images, we could find their LinkedIn profiles, and then we could find their work emails, and then we could be like, hey, which of them work at good companies like Monzo or Revolut or Granola or whatever, and then let's email the events manager at the place to be like, hey, your employees come to this pub pretty often. Why don't you rent out the pub for your next work event? You know. So how do you convert your...
And what would you use Clay for out of that whole thing?
That whole thing, you could use a Clay.
End to end.
End to end. What I just described, you could use in Clay.
That's madness.
Like Cursor, as an example, has the same use case. Just to be clear, we are now talking about a pub and Cursor at the same using the same use case. So Cursor, which you should do this use case too, by the way. Shrey and the guy I just met, you guys should do this. But basically, it's like you have all these free users, and you need to figure out where they work, right?
Yeah.
And so you consult them. You're hiring this new head of sales. This is how you build pipeline for that head of sales before they get started, right? And so you have all these free users all over the world. Let's convert the free users into figuring out where they work. And then if they work at a big enough company and if they're tech forward or whatever, let's qualify them accordingly. And then let's like get that as pipeline so that your new head of sales has a list of accounts to go for. That's what Cursor does, and that's what you guys should do too.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a question.
Yeah.
You said unhinged.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
So you help smart people find clever ways to generate leads for their business?
Yeah. But ideally, I mean, it's not that you have to be smart. I think you have to be creative. And we will try to unleash your creativity. And we want to actually, you don't have to be smart to get started. We want to make the floor, I make this analogy to video games. I want it to feel like Zelda. I want it to feel like World of Warcraft, where anyone can get started. But it's like any other sport, any other thing you're doing, like in investing or whatever. Only the most creative, the best, whatever. They're the ones who get the alpha. They're the ones who win. And so, growth is like a video game. It's something you can play for the rest of your life.
Okay, I'm going to take us back a little bit.
Yeah.
So Clay's 8 years old.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
3-something billion valuation in your last round.
Yeah.
How many people? Like 200?
240, I think now.
240.
Yeah.
I took the last photo from your fundraising announcement, put it in ChatGPT, and asked how many people were in there.
That's good,
so like, I'm a little bit behind on times. It didn't start out. It started as a much more general tool.
Right.
Right. Like
very horizontal.
Very horizontal.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that kind of narrowing? I don't know if it's a pivot or a narrowing that happened. And like,
it was a narrowing.
Narrowing. What were the signals? Like what?
The signals were people were using Clay for go-to-market things, right? And so at the time,
what did it do at the time?
At the time, it was a spreadsheet.
Okay.
And actually, like even before that, there were a lot of different iterations that were unrelated to a spreadsheet. There was a lot of like commitments to different ideas, but all the ideas were equally horizontal. In this case, the original mission of the company was how do you bring the power of programming to an order of magnitude more people? And the spreadsheet was ultimately decided as like as a vehicle for that, because the spreadsheet is actually the original no-code tool, right? And so, and then we were like, what if the spreadsheet could be connected to the internet, you know, and you connect it to APIs? And it just so happened that we were like noticing people in sales and whatever use the spreadsheet to do things. Like that's just how they were doing it. And that's kind of that was the most obvious kind of piece. But by the way, even if you look at products like Zapier or Gumloop or N8N or whatever, go-to-market is actually usually the top use case in all of those, but they've all kind of stayed horizontal.
Right.
And we actually even winnowed it further to data enrichment for cold email marketing agencies, which was extremely niche.
That's what so you were broad, and so what was it was like what 2020, 2019? What were we talking about time?
This was 2021, early 2022.
2021. So
late 2021.
But before that, it was more like the Airtable retool. Was that kind of the space
vibe,
you were playing in?
Yeah, the no-code vibe.
And then you noticed that the people who are using your product to the fullest extent were go-to-market folks.
Yes, but there was resistance to commit to that because of the
internally.
Narrowing. Yes.
In the company.
Yes.
How big was the company at the time?
Well, the full story is that my co-founder Kareem originally started the company in 2017.
Yeah.
And he did it with his best friend Nikolai, and they kind of explored a lot of these different ideas, and actually each one was actually a brilliant idea, but they didn't really commit. And then the issue with committing is you narrow and you don't have the ability to be as big as you can be, right? And so it's like this interesting dichotomy. Separately, I was at an insurance tech company, and I was like a GM of a business unit, and our CEO wouldn't give me any engineers to work with, but he was like, you have to grow, you know? So this was like 2018, 2019.
Oh, you were one of the people using it.
I wasn't using Clay, but I was using other no-code tools like Bubble and this was early Notion, Excel, obviously, to build a product suite. And actually, we built a very good product suite with no-code tools that beat out tech companies and stuff, because the bar in insurance is quite low. And so that's how I got into the no-code space and why I was really interested in it. And when you're interested in something, you do kind of unhinged things. So like I was in 10 different like Slack groups about no-code tooling that I would monitor obsessively, you know? And by the way, this is actually my advice for anyone who wants to start a company forget starting a company, do anything interesting that they're excited about, is you be naturally interested in it. And so only someone who's naturally curious about something is going to join 10 Slack groups about a topic and then monitor them regularly. And in any case, one of them, someone posted about doing a webinar for Clay at the time. Which didn't have customers or revenue. And so I signed up for the webinar, but I'm the only one who showed up for the webinar. No one else. And so they were going to cancel it, actually. But then I was like, no, I want to use the product. Let me play around with this. And I was like, wow, this is early but special. Like there's something magical here, you know? And so I cold emailed Kareem, who ignores me because he was on a silent meditation retreat.
The famous silent
retreat. Yes, meditating on whether to commit or not, by the way. And then so I cold emailed Nikolai, who does respond to me. We have very similar energies. We hit it off. We start spending time together, and we start working together. But then Nikolai leaves to focus on crypto. This was a peak crypto moment. And then everyone else kind of leaves too.
Everyone else?
It was like 6 people.
6. Okay, so it went from like what?
6 to 2.
6 to 2.
Yeah.
Got it.
Something like that. And so maybe 7 to 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so it was very odd to me. I was like, why is everyone?
Like this is better.
Yeah.
Like this direction makes more sense.
It was even less about I don't think the direction was clear. They hadn't committed yet, actually. But the product I thought was special. What it could do I thought was special.
But that was like 4 years in, right? Like that takes a lot out of people.
But those people hadn't stayed for Kareem and Nikolai obviously had, but not everyone else. Okay. And so for whatever reason, I was like, let's work on this. Kareem was like, let's work on this. So we kind of committed, we worked together, and then we reset the business in a lot of ways and committed to go to market and launch the product and narrowed in on, realized that marketing agencies were our best first customers and doing data enrichment for them was the best first use case. And then we kind of grew from there.
For cold email specifically, right?
Yeah.
So give me the exact person. It's like, I don't know, like Jennifer at like a marketing agency.
It's
30
like
people and like,
right. It's like it's smaller than that. 30 people is very generous to assume that we were selling it to people like that. It was like Eric Nowoslawski at a 5-person marketing agency. You know, it was Jordan Crawford at this. So it was very small. And they had
an email list, and they needed to figure out what
basically they were being hired by companies to get them leads. Basically, they were lead generation agencies, and the way that they would get them leads is by doing cold email campaigns.
Got it.
And they felt the pain really acutely because they're running a low margin services business and dealing with many clients at a time. So anything that could, help them with cost savings like data enrichment consolidation or automation like Clay or whatever would be, and they're very technical and entrepreneurial and scrappy, and they're always at the cutting edge, and so that was what drew them to be.
And so what were they using, or what were they choosing not to use when they were choosing Clay?
They were using a mess of tools. They were using many tools. Okay. They were using separate.
This is a very saturated space, right? Like this is
no, it's not saturated. This is a confusing thing about go-to-market. Okay. It is competitive. It's not competitive. It's crowded, but not competitive.
What's that mean?
It's
everyone's crap besides you guys? Or?
No. It's different philosophies. People have different ways of thinking, and it's funny because I tell everyone how we think, and no one copies that. People copy other parts of it.
Interesting.
So, for example, like we have a lot of copycats, and people will.
So there's like people selling like vanilla ice cream and strawberry ice cream, but there's only like one person selling each of those flavors. Is that kind of like?
Well, I think there's a lot of people selling those 2 flavors, and we're over here selling a different flavor that, despite telling the world what flavor we're selling, they're not copying that.
Got it.
And so, like as an example, what I mean by that is like I'll tell you some of the flavors, right? One flavor is let's actually. By the way, we were for example the first usage-based pricing model in go-to-market. Everyone historically until us was seat-based, and so historically, like the main approach, and why, by the way, it's
everyone was seat-based before you. That doesn't make any sense.
What do you mean? I mean, every single go-to-market tech product has been seat-based.
Interesting. But like the number of things you would enrich wouldn't factor in.
Well, these aren't data providers. These are go-to-market.
I see.
Yeah. Like and so even like user gems or Champify, like all these like point solutions. Basically, this market has been super fragmented, and there's only been one or two winners, and those are Salesforce and HubSpot. And everyone monetizes by seat and then the consequence of monetizing by seat is that you have to, the only people who have lots of seats are sales reps, and so then you're building for sales reps. If you do that, you actually lower the floor, you kind of like make your product super accessible to people, and then no one has like an incremental edge because everyone has access to the product and everyone can use it, right?
Okay.
And so that's kind of a lot of the philosophies. And then usage-based pricing actually unlocks the ability to target a more technical user because you don't need lots of people. And then AI enabled the ability to have that one person build on top of for many other people, right? So it turned go-to-market from a one-to-one thing to a one-to-many thing. And so the philosophies are incrementally improve every single rep, right? Another one is use AI to do everything. That's what an AI SDR company would say. Yeah. And what we say is actually, how can you actually give primitives to like a RevOps person or a growth person and let them build on behalf of everyone else and help them scale the most creative ideas.
So you want to enable the like hackers within
the go-to-market engineers, as we call it.
Go-to-market engineers, but with that like a growth hacker type of mindset.
Right.
And you were building tools that would enable them do all kinds of automations.
Yeah.
This is before AI even really hits, right? So you're like really well positioned.
Yes.
I guess. I don't know.
We were well positioned. Not that we knew that, of course, but AI enabled a lot of things in the product. And as a workflow product, it accelerated a lot.
So, like, I don't know. There's a lot of revisionist history of things that not revisionist history, things that make sense looking back, but like.
But some things didn't make sense at
that time. It didn't seem obvious that, like, from what you just described, that you guys would just take off, right? And I'm curious if there's like.
But there were some things that were taking off. So that year, so we launched in product under February 2022. February of 2022
it was February 2022
is when we launched the product.
Okay.
And then late 2021 to February 2022 was getting the product in shape for that. Like committing, getting in shape, and then launching. And then February 2022 to May of 2022, I would say was kind of a mess. And we were like overwhelmed with the inbound.
In a good way. Like,
no, I would say it was a mediocre way.
But like you got a lot of attention.
We got attention, yes.
And you weren't prepared for it.
And we didn't know how to deal with it. And the use cases were all over the place. It was confusing. And so we actually put the wait list back on. We removed the wait list and we're back on the wait list.
And you're still like 6 people at this time? Or?
No, we reduced and then we started hiring. And then I think May, June, we hired a few more people. We hired like 2 more people. It was like, then by June and July, we were like 6, 7, 8 people. And then we were like, okay, so we put the wait list back on. And around May or June is when we were like, we had earlier noticed the agencies, but that's when we really kind of like focused in on the agencies and felt the real pull there. And we kind of really just focused on them. And that was kind of when we would find more of them through WhatsApp groups and stuff like that. And that's when we kind of actually built, and we would just focus on data enrichment for them. So that was actually the wedge, and it remains the wedge even for enterprise today.
Data enrichment.
Yeah, where we consolidate a bunch of vendors and make that easy, and so it takes you take it seriously. But we started to see like very technical people build like pretty creative workflows using the data enrichment, and weaving it together. And that was kind of the initial stuff. But at the time, you would have to get through a lot of stuff in Clay, you'd have to write JavaScript.
Yeah.
And actually AI helped us solve that problem because we were able to create a formula generator that lets you write in natural language and it would write JavaScript for you.
Could you have just done data enrichment? Because it seems like the whole automation piece, that's like a huge thing to bite off. But if like, was the quality of your data the secret sauce? Like, is that why people are like, oh guys, you have to try Clay? Or like what?
Yeah, because it was a deal. It was a financial arbitrage at the time. I would
interesting.
say.
So how come financial arbitrage were you eating the cost or? Maybe?
More or less.
Okay.
I mean, it was a deal,
So it's a really good deal for your customers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't say we had like terrible margins. I mean, not that I was paying attention to the margins at that kind of revenue scale, but it was definitely.
You basically wanted to give the
we
best
were data
data
resellers. We were basically a data reseller for like. I mean, we still are actually, but that was the entire value prop back then.
So it was like come for the data and then kind of stay because you're going to build all these amazing workflows on top of this.
That would be a very charitable characterization.
At the time, you're like, oh fuck, what do we do, right?
Okay. It was like just use the data.
Okay.
And that's like you're using something, and then we would see people do some workflows, though it was like hard.
Yeah.
And by the way, when AI came around, because the API for ChatGPT came out, I think 2023 January. And so that actually enabled a bunch of interesting things.
But you had PMF before that, right?
We had PMF for data before that, and like
interesting.
early PMF for maybe this workflow thing.
Got it.
And then the ChatGPT, and by the way, we did grow quickly. So this is, by the way, these are pre-AI growth numbers, but like
this is recorded, by the way.
That's fine. It's
okay,
fine.
cool.
But,
Yeah,
yeah, it's fine. But like I think like from May of 2022 to December of 2022, before the API came out, we grew from 0 in revenue to like 600K, which was like pretty quick in like a pre-AI kind of thing, in like 6 months basically.
Yeah.
And so that there was clear traction, like something was happening. And then AI enabled actually a few interesting things, right? So what did it enable? One was it actually helped the product get easier to use, like the formula generator, stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. The other thing is it helped us complete the workflow. People were able to not just to enrich data, but they were actually able to send an email because you could use the AI to like write a message. And then 3, what was really cool is, you know what makes AI good? Data. And so because we have the go-to-market data, you could use it as context for writing the message. And so we were able to consolidate all of that in the right place and then string it together.
When I bring up Clay to people, it's clear that there's this really strong user love for the product, which I think, I don't know, but seems like probably rare in this space.
In B2B, it's rare for sure.
Yeah. What if
it's like consumer like love, like Granola probably.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If there's like 1 or 2 things, like looking back, that you think were the biggest reasons for that love, what would those be?
I think there's probably 2 reasons. One is I personally think that the product is just fun. Like I think it's just a fun product, and
what do you mean, like the UI, like the.
Well, it's like you're solving a puzzle, and that actually is the confusing part, right? Because it's like you're solving a puzzle. Because growth is like solving a puzzle actually, and you're building things, you're trying things, you're iterating, and it's just kind of like fun to build, and that's how I feel when I'm in the product. And the tricky part about it is everyone else historically in go-to-market is simplified. And here you're actually seeing all the complexity in its raw kind of beauty. And that is, I think, the inherent insight. The insight is the complexity is the differentiator. You need the complexity because growth is inherently complex, and so you need to see it and do that. And that's the mistake all our copycats make. They say, hey, the narrative out there is that Clay is too hard to use. And we have a counter narrative, but we'll put that aside. Clay is too hard to use. And so what they do is they simplify it. The problem is the complexity is actually the point. The power and flexibility that is enabled is the point. So to answer your question, that I think is really beautiful. So then, especially in the early days, there was like a magical vibe of using the product when it kind of broke half the time, but the like just seeing the columns run, it was just like addicting, And then I think, and this might be revisionist history, but I think at least our brand and our vibe and our marketing is very fun and inventive and creative, and kind of amplifies that.
I wanted to ask about that. I love the Clay brand. When did that happen? Was that from the get-go?
No, from the beginning. It was we did completely irrational things on brand marketing.
What do you mean?
Like at that point, we had. Okay, so there's this guy named. I actually am not going to tell you his name, but there's this guy. There's this guy who's a claymation artist, and this was crazy. We had no revenue, or all basically rounded down to 0, but we really liked his claymation art. And so we wanted his claymation art to be on our website and stuff. And his pricing model, to put it lightly, was innovative.
It was seat-based?
No, it was like license-based basically. And so he was like, you could rent my art actually, and so you can get a license for my art for a year and rent it, and then pay me another fee next year to rent it again. And you know what? I agreed to this bananas thing. And it was unbelievable pricing, okay? It was like this little blob, a beautiful blob, a gorgeous blob, but a tiny little purple blob, okay? And it's that's $2,500 to rent for a year. But it was gorgeous. It was very nice. Or this yellow star, that's $3,000 for a year. So just unbelievable pricing. That guy, by the way, is now full-time as a claymation artist in-house.
You have a full-time claymation artist?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
And so we bought clay.com before we had revenue, and so we hired a head of brand when we had 15 employees. And so these are investments you make not because they make sense, but because they are true to who you are, and you're going to do it because it's fun and interesting and what you want.
Yeah, how'd you think about that? What was the internal decision process of we have a product, it's still early, it's You're still shaping it.
Yeah.
But we're going to invest in brand and like claymation,
Like I can go
full-time
through,
claymation
I can go through
artist,
each
like,
of those decisions if you want,
yeah.
every single one. So those 4 decisions. This might take a second, but the first one was the blobs, right? Well, let's do that one last because it'll make sense after the others. So the play.com, that was expensive. And
how much?
Not for video.
Okay.
But that one was expensive, and that one was that one is more like, hey, if you don't, it's kind of like
it'll be the cheapest. It's the cheapest it'll ever
it's
be.
the cheapest it'll ever be, and if the company works, it makes sense, and if it doesn't work, then we can sell it, you know. And is the reason the company is going to fail the delta of this money, you know? And if we succeed, it'll only get more and more expensive, you know. So that was one. 2, they had a brand actually. So this is a close friend of Kareem's, and I was skeptical whether it would be a full-time thing. But then when he joined, I was like, hey, actually, we should have you do people stuff actually. And Kareem was like, you know, that's good
people
because
stuff like
head of people.
Okay.
Because actually he was a brand designer and a plant store owner. But Kareem was like, and by the way, not just any plant store owner. He had the #1 wire cutter plant store.
Okay.
On Wirecutter, yeah. And so, but they ran out of business because it's a plant store and the margins aren't good. Yeah. But good
Their
product.
go-to-market was no good.
Yeah. But anyways, because I like, it was clear to me like he had the soul of the company embodied in him, and he's like I describe him as a little like a little angel who sprinkles pixie fairy dust everywhere. You know.
Is that the soul? Is that what Clay is like? Is that are you guys just walking around?
I mean, how would you
pixie
describe
dust on
him? How would
people?
you describe him?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that everyone who works at the company, you can expect to have a little bit of like pixie dust and sprinkle magic wherever they go.
Yeah, but Puneet embodies this more than anyone actually, and so that was his soul was clear to me from the beginning. And so Kareem had this good insight, which was actually what he can do is make consistent the external brand and the internal brand, because that's actually when people leave a company, when what you say externally is dissonant with what's happening internally. And so you can this is a core principle of the company: tighten feedback loops. We have many examples of this, but this is one of them. You can tighten it to one person, and so we do that in lots of other things, like the GTM engineer.
I didn't get the Titan feedback thing. Like, what's the connect? Like this.
Well, normally these are different roles, but if you have it in one person, the feedback loop is way tighter.
see.
Yeah, it's inherent in one person.
You're like, that doesn't feel like us, or that doesn't feel
Yeah,
like
it's all
us.
in one person, and they have the brand design and the people experience and combine that into one, right? And so that ended up making that one work. There were the claymation artist. No, that wasn't so early. You know, I would have hired him if I could have earlier. That was it. Just took a while to successfully recruit him. You know, he's an artist, and he's like, "Oh, I want to be independent." You know, whatever. He's lovely. But you know, that's.
He's head of people now, right? No.
No, yeah. No, he's still the claymation artist, but a great one. And so I would have actually hired him earlier, but I think we hired him like when we were already in the tens of millions of revenue. But you know, why not? You know, like that's obvious. That's our brand. Like let's go. Like and that's totally worth it. And so just keep making blobs. You know, let's keep doing that. That's and it's like, no, let's not use Midjourney for this. Like this is what's unique and authentic to us, and that's what makes us stand out. And then the blobs and paying for the thing, I was like, I remember negotiating with them actually. I remember like being in a phone booth with our first marketer and like going back and forth about this blob and like and this ridiculous pricing model for the blobs. But you know, like maybe this was just, it was just like, I just wanted it, you know, like it just, you know, like I wanted the blobs, you know, like the blobs are great. Yeah. And so like, it's really nice, you know, and so, and it makes it feel fun, you know, cause like that's important. Yeah, I don't have a deeper thing.
No, that was fantastic.
It's just I wanted the blobs.
We're gonna open up for questions in a little bit. I wanna focus on you. It sounds like a hell of a journey from 2021 till now.
Yeah.
That must have really messed with your head. I don't know, right? But
no,
like,
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I mean, Tess can tell me. Like, she's only known me for 4 months.
How long have you two known each other?
Just 4 months.
4 months.
Oh, okay. Well, then what will she know, right?
I don't know.
You might have been a totally different person.
That's true.
What's your personal life like? Are you have you had a personal life the last 3 years?
Yeah,
do you have like a
we give people
partner,
personal lives.
family?
Yeah. I have a wife. We have a we have a family. Like things are happening.
Okay.
But I also
Congrats.
I also, before this, I worked in politics for many years and worked for Hillary Clinton for 4 years. And so, you know, and actually I would say the Hillary Clinton campaign is like is, by the way, we can actually bring this back to go-to-market. So I have this is actually a new take I've just shared once before, so it'll still feel fresh, you know. Which is, that's actually like the ultimate startup. That's an organization. I was the 7th person like working with her in like 2013, and she had a small personal office, and that stayed 7 people. It's actually very much like a startup. You know, it stayed 7-8 people for like 2 years, and then she announced her president, and it grew from 7 people to 20,000 in a year and a half. You know, and then it's kind of like on the eve of going public or something, or the eve of like this crazy acquisition. It was like it blew up like FTX. You know, like that's like the analogy. But the analogy I would make back to go to market is like I think the fundamental flaw in that campaign, like running for president is going to market. You know, and so I think there are a lot of things that feel very top down, and don't feel very bottoms up. You know, and so there's analogies in companies for this too, right? So I would say Clay and Granola are very bottoms-up companies, but a top-down company would be something like Harvey, where it's like, hey, we have a thesis, which is, hey, there's AI, and I think lawyers need it, you know, and let's just go make that happen. But like the issue that they usually run into is like people buy into that, but they usually have like product things, because bottoms-up companies are usually very product-led, and then these companies are always trying to like make those types of things work. I would say the same thing happened with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, which is you can't like say what you will about Donald Trump, and you can guess my opinions on this, but you can't script a presidential campaign where you come down a golden escalator and insult Mexicans. You know, like that's not how you say. That's not how anyone would be like, I want to be president. This is how to go do it, right? But what he clearly had is some insight into people. And or at least his people or whatever, and that is what carried him. And actually, that's what's true in go-to-market too. The only way you succeed is if you have a unique insight about your customers that no one else has. And I think, though I admire her deeply and love her, like I think Hillary really struggled with that. And I think that campaign was a very top-down campaign, and it was very much this is how we should run. Like, it lacked like a unique insight into the American people, which led to like issues like. When she was leaked for saying the deplorables and 47 American, you know, all that type of stuff, right? And so that fed into this narrative. And so that like it's funny how these all kind of connect.
I'm gonna ask you one more question, then we can open up it a little bit. You hear about these startups that are doing super well, right? And you've been on the cover of magazines and all that stuff, right?
No, I have not.
You haven't?
No, I don't know. That seems odd.
Oh, we should get you on the cover of a magazine or something.
No, that seems odd.
But
That's
like,
a lot.
It's very easy to talk about the successes. I feel like a lot of doing a startup is actually being scared shitless or like not knowing what to do, even when things are going well. So I'm kind of curious, like, can you talk through what was the stuff that was keeping you up at night in 2020 or 2021, 22, 23, and how that's changed? Because you're doing very well. I'm sure you're still stressing out about certain stuff. Or are you not someone who stresses? Are you just
Well, actually, there's a funny comment on the stressing thing. So I have an Oura ring, and it turns out you can look and see, I've only got this like a month or two ago, you can see how stressed you are, and there's like a chart, and it's like, you know, relaxed or something, then it's like engaged, and then it's stressed, and there's like 3 levels. And basically my chart is I'm always engaged. I am like consistently
You're in flow. You're in stress flow.
I'm never relaxed and I'm never stressed, but I am always engaged. I'm just like constantly engaged. Like
I can see that.
Just like right there. Just like constantly engaged, you know? So Kareem, on the other hand, is very funny because Kareem doesn't appear externally stressed at all, ever. He's the calmest, like, he's like achieved enlightenment, you know? He's like, that's his vibe. But his Oura ring would say he's very stressed all the time. But so it's very funny. That's a very funny dichotomy. Yes, I think like there are things I stress about the business all the time, right? And so right now I'm stressed about pricing, and I'm stressed about pipeline, and I'm stressed about the fact that our discovery and our process on sales sucks, and I'm stressed about international expansion. I'm stressed about all sorts of things right now that I'm worried about and thinking about. I'm annoyed that the use case marketing on the website like looks disastrous, and like, why can't we just package this up cleanly? Like, these are all things right now that I'm like,
so big
we need to like dramatically get better at. I think we're not like, I just messaged our web design team, like I'm like, we used to be always on the cutting edge of web design, and we're not there anymore. Like, what's happening? Where's the creativity? Like, these are all the things like right now, today, that I've just been thinking about. and that's changed dramatically every 6 months or whatever. But I think the core of what you're asking, I think for me to be more vulnerable about something that was actually a challenge is more like it's more personal growth, you know, and
scaling yourself. Or?
Yeah, and like imposter syndrome and insecurities around that, and so, and maybe I can give two examples, right? And so, one example I'll give is a little less about me and more about like insecurity around the company, and so that's like process. We're very like anti-process kind of vibe. You know, we don't have a leadership team. We don't have leadership meetings. Like, there's a lot of things that are that don't scream process. And I was kind of insecure about this for a while, and I was like, it doesn't feel like the company is like operating at like a level of rigor or cadence or whatever that like. Not that I've experienced before, actually, but that I just hear about, that people talk about, you know, on Twitter. Yeah. Like you see on Twitter, like people are like, "Oh, this runs like a machine." I'm like, that sounds pretty good. Like maybe I should, run like a machine.
You're the COO, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of my job actually to do this. And so this is for context. I lead all our business teams, and then Kareem is CEO, and he leads all of the engineering, product, and design teams. So I was like, this in theory is what I'm supposed to be good at and what I'm supposed to do, and it doesn't feel like we're doing that. And so I went to all these companies and I was like, what do you do? And they were like, oh, we have this meeting, and then they have notes in the meeting, and then they follow up on the action items in the meeting. And so I'm like, okay, maybe we try that, you know? That seems reasonable. And then I was like, what am I talking about in this meeting? Like I was like, I feel like I've already communicated all these things in Slack or whatever. People just call me and like I don't do one-on-ones with my team. Yeah. But it just works. People just call me and I talk to them and I'm available. And I was very insecure about this one thing for a while. And and then I ultimately realized that like what we were doing is working. Yeah. Don't try to fix things that aren't broken. Like always solve problems. This is also true with exec hiring, by the way. Like people are like, oh, you don't have this position, you don't have that person. Okay, well what problem do you have? Because if you don't have a problem, then that exec is going to be set up for failure because then they're not solving anything, they're not making an impact. You pay them a shit ton of money, then they're going to get fired and it creates more thrash and chaos. And so this like, and even by the way, just this weekend, another hot off the presses item on this point of like a trade-off of not having a leadership team, which is something like should we have a leadership team? Should we like meet? Should we like be aligned? Yada yada.
Wait. So you don't have there's no place where you get together.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we have like we talk, we text, you know, and like, but like you know, so one person is. Like they were doing X role and then there's a new person who is coming in to lead that function. Yeah. And so they're feeling insecure basically. And they're like, people perceive me as part of this leadership, where does this put me or whatever. And actually by not having this, everyone feels like it's a very flat team, very flat structure. So everyone feels like part of it. But the moment you create hierarchies and whatever, then people feel like other or whatever. Actually, another thing on this is why it was one reason why we don't have levels. We don't have like competencies and levels and stuff because
no levels.
Yeah. So we and so the reason is if you put things written on paper, people will like go to that. Like if you say senior manager does this, people go to that. As opposed to you want to like let people be creative and reach for the things and so this is one reason we don't have that, right? Because then people will start comparing themselves to titles and stuff like that. And the last thing is on the insecurity, right? So these are like company insecurities where
now you're over it, like as in like it works for us.
Well, then I realized that this is authentic to us. It's working for us in these circumstances, which you can't replicate in another company, and you have to lean into that. And it has like very unexpected benefits that are hard to predict in the moment, and that's why you do things that are authentic to you, that make sense and solve problems. And then like on the personal insecurity side, like I remember vividly actually. I remember when was this? This was probably like. I don't know, this was probably like early 2024, if I had to guess, like January, February of 2024. And people, Clay was taking off, like things were growing, and like, you know, a lot of execs were interested in working at Clay, you know? And by the way, and I was kind of managing all these business teams, and I was like maybe this person has this great resume, like maybe like this head of marketing, whatever, right? Like why am I doing this, you know? Like this, like am I putting my ego in front of the company's interests, right? And this was like a whole like crisis for me at the time because I was like am I putting my own ego and my own needs ahead of what the company needs, right? Because I meet these candidates, they're very tenured, very accomplished, and they want to do the job, and we get them to do the job, and like I was like reflecting and I was like, do I need them to report to me or what am I going to do? Am I going to be useful? Am I not going to be useful? And actually, I try to revisit this all the time, actually, because still, for some reason, I'm responsible for all these business teams. And
so you didn't hire any.
So so that moment, and so I had a whole conversation with Kareem about this too, right? And we even interviewed them. We like met them. We spent real time with them, and the kind of conclusion we came to, and I'm not saying that there's no head of marketing or no CMO or whatever. We actually ended up promoting our head of growth marketing to become head of marketing. That wouldn't have been able to be a good fit or whatever. But I think like it's kind of like a weird observation, but like a weird it's kind of weird to say out loud. But there was this moment where I was like reflecting on all of this, and first I actually just like fully gave up. Actually, I fully was like, actually, Kareem, I'll just do something else. We should just hire a CMO. They'll know what to do and all these things. And like there was a moment where I like completely came to peace with it, and this is the best for the business. And I was making that case, you know. And then like I was able to like realize through other conversations and actually really interviewing these people that it's not that I'm a better marketer than this person or whatever, but that actually that what I was able to contribute, what Bruno was able to contribute, like what we were able to do together is what got us to this place to begin with, and what is helps make us special, and helps like really represents our authenticity, and that's actually what marketing is all about. It's about being authentic, and actually that fit, it's very like fit based, is still what's necessary. And me doing this, and Bruno doing this, and all these people doing these is actually what we still need. But then I really try to revisit that assumption. You know, like for example, like we don't have, like we just hired a head of sales, as we were just talking about. So Granola's hiring a head of sales. If you want the job, let us know.
In San Francisco, though.
Yeah, in San Francisco. So yeah. So we hired a head of sales, and in that process, and by the way, all of our customers are heads of sales, and so it was like everyone wanted to be our CRO.
Right.
And CROs, they want to own like marketing and success and sales and all these things, and everyone wanted to like be a CRO and all these things. And all the exec recruiters were suggesting, it's like, why every company at this stage would hire a CRO? Why aren't you? You know? And maybe I made a mistake, right? Because nominally, I guess I'm doing that role of like keeping them all together. But I was also just like trying to reflect on the problem we were trying to solve, and it was actually a fairly narrow problem. What I really needed is dramatically better sales process, dramatically better people management on the sales team, and like relentless focus and execution on that. And that's just the fit we needed then, and let's solve that. And then over time, like let me keep revisiting whether I should be doing this job, and am I really the best fit for it? And if I'm not, we should like change something. So that was actually an extremely winding and Byzantine answer to this original question.
That's great.
And we touched a lot of things from politics to this, but hopefully that covered.
All right. Well, I will end there. We're going to hang out. So mingle, ask questions. Anything you want to add at the?
No. I think just thank you guys so much. Really appreciate this. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're like, part of the reason I'm here is we're trying to launch into Europe, and we want to prioritize this highly. We're opening an office here in London. You should join Granola also, by the way, but also consider us if you're in go-to-market. And we're trying to make this like a real priority. And so I'll be spending a lot more time here. We're going to grow a lot here, and just really grateful for your time and attention. Thank you.
Thank you.